All right, everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining this breakout session on operations, health, and safety. I'm Dan Vopel, Executive Director of Communications here at Tacoma School District and moderator for this breakout session. I'd like to share how things will go tonight in this session. First, we'll hear from School Board Director Enrique Leone, and then we'll open up the floor to our community members to ask questions of our panelists. Before we begin, I'd like to highlight for you that we are recording this session. So if you would prefer not to have your face show in the session, you can click the little video button that is highlighted here in red. And I'd also like to ask everyone remain on mute until it's your turn to speak or ask a question. You could do that by clicking on the little microphone button. Let me just make sure I can admit some people here who are waiting in the lobby. There we go. Okay. I'd like to go over how to ask questions. So what you'll see is that you can do that in a couple of ways. You can ask questions by putting your question into the chat or clicking on the little icon at the top that shows that, that a little hand is raised, and then I can call on you that way. But before we get rolling on that part, I'd like to introduce School Board Director Enrique Leone to make a few remarks. Thank you, Director Leone.
Thanks and good evening. I'm Enrique Leone, Tacoma School Board member. I'd like to take a moment to introduce the rest of the panelists that are joining us. We have Heaven Galvan, who is a SAMI student, going to be a senior. Shaylee Hobbs, Administrator of Health Services. Mike Rupert, Director of Safety and Security. Morris Aldridge, Executive Director of Planning and Construction. Steve Diedrich, Director of HR Operations. Forrest Greek, Director of Labor Relations and Whole Educator. Rob Bryant, Director of Financial Services. Paul Harris, Assistant Director of Facilities. So for this session, we'll be focusing on strategic plan goals. Number 4, health and safety, as well as goal number 5, operations. Our health and safety goals. Hold on a moment, I think my screen is having some issues. No, I think that's just you making some changes. So we're good. Yep. Okay. So goal health and safety, as well as goal number 5, operations. So our health and safety goals state that we will create and maintain healthy and safe learning environments that promote excellent academic achievements. Our operations goals state we will focus on effective and efficient business practices to ensure student academic success. These goals promote student achievement by maintaining healthy and safe learning environments, as well as maximizing student resources through effective and efficient business practices. The district's approach to maintaining healthy and safe learning environments is achieved through the reduction of health-related barriers, by supporting the physical, mental, emotional, and social health of students and their success in the learning process. You heard about some of these details from Ms. Medina earlier, but I just want to give a couple examples. In addition, I want to highlight supporting the retention and recruitment of excellent nurses, counselors, and school-based, and continue to expand upon the school-based health centers that we have currently at Oakland at this time. Most importantly, our social emotional learning curriculum, which you heard about, and the training that all staff get and is expanded to improve how our staff really connect with students to support and understand their emotional health. Students with better psychological health definitely learn better and thrive. So additionally, student resources are maximized through the application of effective and efficient business practices. Both goals areas receive a strong focus on data and benchmarks, as well as alignment with industry standards and best practices. So to tie it back to the budget presentation tonight, budgeting by priorities, the budgeting process which aligns our resources with the district strategic plan goals. So the budget department has prepared additional information for you to review at the district's website that you've heard about from Ms. Medina earlier, and it provides further detail relative to the alignment and the resources by strategic plan, focus, and program. So I'd like to send this back over to Mr. Vopel to continue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just want to do a process check here. Are you seeing the slides on the screen at the moment?
No.
Okay.
We were a moment ago.
Okay, gotcha. I'm going to try this again.
We see them now.
Okay. I want to put this slide back up if you can see it. That has the folks who are currently our panelists. Is that the one you're seeing on the screen?
No, it says health and safety for all, goal number 4, and operations goal number 5. Talks about each one.
Okay. I'll work on trying to get that back up on the screen. But first, let me just reiterate how to ask a question now of our panelists. You can raise your hand with the raise your hand feature. It's located in the toolbar at the top of your screen. It's a little smiley face with a hand. Or you can just simply put your question into the chat, and I will direct that to the appropriate person on our panel. Those are the two ways that you can ask a question, and we've already gotten some in. So what I'd just like to maybe kick it off with one of these questions that came in a bit earlier. And Shalay Hobbs is our health administrator. Shalay, you've just gone through a rough 18 months advising the district on the pandemic and how we can all get through it safely. Moving forward, though, looking at this budget that's proposed, what does health services in our schools look like based on this proposed budget?
Thank you, Dan. Looking at the 21-22 school year, our health team will consist of 29 RNs at part and full-time FTE, 22 LPNs, again at part and full-time FTE, and health clerks supporting about 25 of our elementary schools. This does not include one-to-one supports that may be needed by students, and that's a case-by-case assessment and coordination. All of our schools will have access in some capacity to a school nurse, and their daily health room coverage will be built based upon student health needs within that building. As I touched on briefly, our team consists of a variety of health supports, both certificated and not certificated. So RNs, LPNs, health clerks, and they really support the needs of the whole child. Our nurses have supported throughout this pandemic, and we're excited to continue to support student health initiatives and COVID response as we return in the fall. I also want to say we are hiring right now for LPNs to serve our COVID support positions. Please go onto our careers website and apply. These positions will continue to support the COVID response as well as support our health rooms. So please, if you're interested, look to those positions.
Yeah, thanks for that plug for hiring through HR on our careers website, Chile. As they say, operators are standing by. So related to the pandemic, how can the district help students and staff feel safe when coming back to school in the fall full time, in person? And I guess I would direct that question both at Director Leone. Some of you may not know, he's a medical doctor in town and has a lot of experience around the pandemic and COVID-19, and then with a follow-up to Shalay on that too. Director Leone, would you like to speak to how the district can help keep people, staff and students safe in the fall?
Yeah, thanks. Great question. I think we've done an amazing job in creating opportunities for people to be vaccinated, first of all. I think that's one of the most important things we can do right now is get as much of our community vaccinated, and really Ms. Hobbs' department and really with teamwork with a lot of other folks have partnered with health providers to get vaccines on campus and near campus. So that's going to continue And the more vaccinated people we have, the less infection there'll be for sure. The other big thing is going to be to continue our, we've expanded and done a lot with cleaner air and HVAC systems, spacing, hand sanitation, and of course, masks. So I know that there may be some controversy around what ages and when masks are going to be required or indicated. You can use lots of different terms here. But at this point, our state's still requiring them for good reasons. There may have been some information that came out just recently from the CDC about putting less weight around the use of masks in schools, depending on vaccination status. But that dust hasn't settled yet, so I'll leave it to Ms. House.
Thank you, Dr. Leone. I do want to echo some of the messaging that Dr. Leone has shared around vaccination. I think vaccination is important, and there are opportunities through a partnership between TPS and Multicare throughout the summer. We've pushed it out to families, and it is in social media. I encourage you to participate if that's the right choice for you. With that, layering strategies, so the masking, the vaccine opportunities, and consistent communication and transparency, which Dan and his team is wonderful in supporting us in, so families can feel safe in this process. And then also following trusted health authority guidance. We always partner with our local health authority and the state to continue to follow health authority guidance that is trusted and evidence-based.
Thank you both for that. I'd like maybe to have our student representative, Heaven Galvin, follow up on that. What would you like to see more of at your school as it relates to health and safety? Or do you feel like that you're supported and safe in schools now?
I think it was definitely a lot harder when we were at home. Just the entire learning system was very difficult for my person, at least. But I did get to have some time at school when we returned. I forgot when, but I was there at school in person. And I think it was what the system that they had going was working very well. I didn't feel unsafe at all. I'm now fully vaccinated, but before that I wasn't. And I think it was working really well. They had like one-way halls, so it made you feel like confident that you weren't getting mixed with students that you didn't know like their whereabouts, and everything was spaced 6 feet. I personally did not feel unsafe at all. I think it was working really well. Good,
thank you. And I think I'd maybe just like our finance director Rob Bryant to chime in here a little bit. A lot of these extra precautions, the masks that we had to buy, all of the equipment. Our CFO, Rosalind Medina, mentioned these federal dollars called ESSER funds that we were getting. Is that where most of these extras have been paid for?
Yes, thanks, Dan. Yes, that is correct. A lot of that has come from there, but there has also been some community partners that have stepped in and provided some of the PPE items as well. But the ESSER dollars in large part were designed to be supportive of any of those needs, that are going to be required in the schools to make sure that the students can come back safe and that the staff will remain safe and all those sorts of things.
Thank you. It's great to have those one-time dollars available for things like these emergencies that have come up. Shifting gears a bit, Paul, you oversee nutrition services, and during this COVID year, it's been a real blessing that all students can eat for free at school, and some of the meals were even served in the classrooms. What can students expect their meal services in the fall to look like when they come back to school in person full time?
Great question, Dan. Thank you. So students moving forward for the 21-22 school year will continue to receive free breakfast and free lunch due to the continued USDA COVID waivers. We also, during this time, are going to be implementing a breakfast after the bell program district-wide. So every child and student of Tacoma Public Schools will have an opportunity to either eat in the classroom or have a second chance opportunity at breakfast each and every day. Currently, we plan to have lunches served in the cafeteria, but we are continuing to work with the local health jurisdiction, local health department, district committees, and anyone else regarding any of the safety changes as we all find our new normal for the new school year, right? We also will be communicating more as we get closer to the opening day, because we still have some other opportunities and other things that we are unsure of.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's good news that program's been extended, so all kids can get their meals for free at school.
Absolutely, all kids.
Thank you. You know, one of the hot topics during this COVID year has been air quality in schools. And, you know, I'd like to ask Morris Aldridge, who oversees our capital projects, is there any budget allocated for any improvements to the school's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems?
Well, thank you, Dan. Again, an excellent question there. We do have $11 million that is assigned through ESSER to be able to fix some of the issues that we may have, but to really go through and update as many of our systems as we possibly can. But one of the things I'd really like to point out, though, is that as we've gone through and we've done our air quality testing, we have met or exceeded all of the industry standards for all of our school buildings as we've gone through. But that doesn't mean we can't be better at cleaning the air, even more so than what it is. So right now we will have an aggressive 3-year program to where we will be doing some additional testing of our equipment, coming up with an overall plan to try and make sure we can meet and again exceed the number of schools that may have some issues.
Tremendous. And then just following up on, because you're here and you're in charge of all of our construction projects, I know that the funding for new school construction and major remodeling projects doesn't come from our general fund. The general fund that pays for teachers and curriculum and other supplies. Can you explain where the construction funding comes from, and maybe we'll highlight a couple of the major projects that are currently in development?
Well, for all of our major capital projects, we do not fund those out of local dollars. They do all come from bond dollars that were generously passed by our taxpayers in 2020. At a rate, I think, like 65% passage rate, which was really outstanding when we passed our $535 million bond package. And that package is designed to cover the replacement of 8 campuses, and also to do some renovations in a number of campuses, and also improve some fields and things like that. So when we look at some of the major projects that are going, one that it did help to fund is the new Hunt Middle School that will open this fall. Also funding the new Downing and Skyline Elementaries that will open in the fall of 22, Fawcett Elementary that will open in the fall of 23, along with some upgrades in our athletic fields, making sure, for instance, to build a new baseball and softball field for Stadium High School that will be done on the Stanley Elementary School campus, working in coordination with Metro Parks, and also working on the Lincoln Bowl, and also adding a baseball and softball field there, just to name a few of the things that we're doing.
Great. Well, looking forward to having some grand opening celebrations coming up. That's good news. Thank you for that. You know, health and safety guidance for COVID has continually changed since March of 2020, when we first had to shut down our schools, and it's been hard to keep up with it. So I'd like to maybe ask Stephen Diedrich, one of our HR administrators, but also has the title of COVID czar, COVID supervisor for the district, to keep us all organized and make sure that we're responding across the district appropriately. Further changes may come down. Do you have any sense of what the State Department of Health or other regulatory agencies may or may not do as we're leading into the start of school?
Well, Steve Dietrich, as you mentioned, I kind of serve in 2 capacities: Director of HR Operations, second is the COVID supervisor. And, I'm just one of the many people who have been assigned by the district to monitor the conditions of COVID and our reaction and our response to COVID to work as one united team. There's roughly about 80 of us that represent the different facilities across the district that come together on a routine, if not at a minimum of a weekly basis, but every other day in some cases, and partner with Shalay Hobbs and her team and 7 or 8 core members of that team almost daily. And through that partnership, one of the things we're doing is monitoring both the CDC and the state local health department for any changes, any updates, along with our office, our OSPI office as well. We do anticipate changes. We're just waiting for updates. We're receiving them as they come. Much of it's been released to you, the public, through the governor's updates. But we stay alert, we stay aware, and we stay connected, and we work as a united team to be in front of it. But we do anticipate more to come. And the good news is we have flexibility in our budget through the ESSER funding to address that from a financial standpoint. So thank you to the state, and thank you to Rosalind Medina's team for partnering with us along the way so that we can be at the ready.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate that. Yeah, the unknowns are unknown, but we'll keep people up to speed as we get more information on that. We had a question in a follow-up question in the chat for Morris Aldridge on construction projects. Morris, you mentioned athletic fields around the districts, and I see we have a question. What about Jason Lee's baseball field? Are there some upgrades planned for that, and when might that fall into the schedule?
Jason Lee is not a part of this particular bond package. When we put together and looking at all the things that need to be done in the district, there are roughly $1.5 billion worth of need. That we went through and prioritizing those things that we felt were the greatest need based on some of the facility condition assessments. And Jason Lee's is one that, yes, there is some needs that are there, but we really felt based on some health and safety reasons to actually do some of the other fields first. In some cases, for instance, with Stadium, a school that really did not have a field. If you look at fields above Lincoln, for those high school athletes, again, you're literally playing on dirt for both baseball and softball. So we felt like there was a greater need there in comparison to some of the other middle school pieces that were done.
Okay, thank you. I think I have asked all the questions that had come in advance. I'd just like to give the folks in our audience here in the breakout session a chance to pose any additional questions that you might have of our panelists before we close for the evening. I don't see any coming in, but while we wait on that, I would also, if we have not touched on a key budget element that any of you, the panelists, believe need to be addressed this evening, are there any kind of key points that you would want to get across before we close tonight? Okay, well, we may have exhausted everybody's questions. I see our CFO Rosalind Medina joined us. Ms. Medina, we've gone through all the questions answered from our community. We're just pausing momentarily just to see if we had any last ones coming in.
Sounds good.
I have a comment or a question also. If there are members that are going to watch this recording and then have questions, who and how will they pose those questions? There'll be other similar webinars. Will they wait till that happens?
Right. This was the only webinar, but the questions can still be asked at cfo@tacoma.k12.wa.us. So anything that comes up from this point forward, we can just send an email off to the CFO email at the Tacoma School District.
Thank you. We did have one more question come in, and this one is in the wheelhouse of Mr. Forrest Greek, who works with a lot of our labor groups or labor partners. The question is, I know the para union is proposing to have no paras work fewer than 4 hours a day. What do you think about this? And there's a suggestion that this would help retain more paras.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of thought around that. What I'll say right now is that we're in a position right now where we're actually in full bargaining with the paras. And so that type of topic and that type of conversation would need to be referred to the actual bargaining process, which we're engaging right now. And it's been a positive experience, and we're continuing to meet with them regularly. So to answer your question, Tracy, directly, I don't necessarily really have an opinion right now because we were right in the middle of bargaining that as we are.
Thank you, Forrest. Appreciate it. All right. Well, once again, I just want to thank everyone for attending this session this evening. Hopefully, you got most of your questions answered, and if not, you heard how you can submit those send them by email to cfo@tacoma.k12.wa.us, and we'll get those answered. And we're posting all the answers to those questions that come in under an FAQ on our budget website, so everyone can see the answers. Once again, I want to thank all of you who attended and all of our panelists for their contributions tonight. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.